Hey there, it's John Spitz from Hammerpedia.com. Today I'm going to show you how to replace a frost-proof faucet, also called a sillcock, a spigot, or a wall hydrant. I loaded today's video with tips and tricks I've picked up over the years as a pro plumber, so be sure to check out the whole video because you're bound to pick up some great insider information. So let's get started. The real beauty of an outdoor frost-proof faucet is the clever design shuts off water inside the heated portion of your home. When you turn the handle counterclockwise, the valve opens and water flows. After the valve is closed, the slope of the faucet causes the leftover water to drain out of the faucet. Keeping water out of the faucet prevents water from freezing inside your walls, which could result in a pipe burst, also called a freeze break. It's important to note that all frost-proof faucets need to be sloped towards the exterior of the home for proper draining. Typically, the manufacturer includes a siding wedge that's installed behind the hydrant's wall flange to achieve this slope. Other frost-proof faucet models don't have a siding wedge. Instead, the pitch is built right into the flange. Check the spec sheet for your model to get the most accurate info, but always use a bubble level to verify your final install. Again, you want some fall here to ensure the hydrant drains after the valve is closed. Here's another important point you don't want to overlook. It's crucial to disconnect your hose during the winter. Otherwise, the water in your hose will prevent the faucet from draining. That trapped water can freeze, expand, and burst the faucet. Water expands 9% when it freezes, and it's an incredibly powerful force. A force strong enough to rupture a copper pipe, as you're seeing here. Before we begin, it's key to pinpoint where the leak originates, and this step will tell you if you need to repair your faucet or completely replace it. If your faucet has a freeze break, it's usually obvious. With a freeze break, the faucet will only leak when the valve is open. When the valve is closed, it won't leak. On this job, I already knew that the faucet had a freeze break. The customer found standing water on the floor, but this only occurred when the spigot was on. With the valve closed, no water leaked. That immediately told me the problem was somewhere downstream from the valve. Now, on the other hand, if you close your faucet and have an active water leak, like a leak at the handle or around the packing nut, you might be able to repair the faucet instead of replacing it. I'm currently working on another video where I rebuild several common faucets on the market. That video isn't finished yet, but once it's done, I'll put the link in the description below. So let's install our new frost-proof faucet. The first step is to shut the water off. I lucked out on this service call because this faucet had a dedicated shut-off valve, so I didn't have to shut the water off to the entire house. Once your water's off, open up the faucet to drain out as much water as possible. To remove your outdoor faucet, you run into a few different scenarios. A frost-proof faucet gets connected to a water supply line via a few different inlet styles. Pryor has some great pictures that identify the common styles. They include male pipe threads, ProPress, PEX connection, shark bite, and CPVC glue-in. I commonly run into male pipe threads a lot in the field, and this inlet style gets connected in one of two ways. Either the copper supply line is sweat directly into the faucet's inlet, or a female adapter gets screwed onto the male pipe threads. If your outdoor faucet is screwed in, you may be able to unscrew it from the outside. Connect a wrench to the faucet's body and rotate counterclockwise. On this service call, the faucet was a sweat connection, and unfortunately, this connection was inside a basement drywalled ceiling, so I'm going to cut some drywall today. Here I'm taking some measurements to get reference points that will help me locate the faucet inside. Now I'm making some marks on the ceiling and using my level to draw out the section of drywall I'll remove. I'll use my Milwaukee 18-volt multi-tool to cut the drywall. This tool is great for all sorts of cuts and is one of my favorite ways to cut drywall and PVC in tight spaces. So here's what I found. This is the existing water supply line soldered into the inlet of the outdoor faucet. You can't see the freeze break from here, and that's because it's busted on the inside of the wall. I'll show you that break here in a sec. Back to my service call. I need to cut the water supply line so I can remove the defective faucet. I'll use my close quarters tubing cutter. I begin by rotating my pipe cutter around the pipe, tightening it slightly each rotation. I can't quite make a full revolution because that 2x4 is in my way, but I rotate it as much as I can and continue this process of rotating and slightly tightening until the pipe is cut through. And you'll want a bucket nearby after it's cut to catch as much water as possible. Now I'm back outside to remove the two screws that secure the faucet to the house, and the faucet pulls right out. Here you can see the freeze break, which was caused by water freezing and then expanding. With the defective faucet removed, it's time to prep the new frost-proof faucet. I've got the defective faucet out of the wall. It's still attached to the old pipe I just cut. I'll measure the total length of the faucet that includes the old cut pipe. I'll temporarily stub in a new piece of copper and transfer that measurement to the new pipe. This way the faucet will fit perfectly. Here I'm cutting the pipe at the line I just made. Now before I solder, I set up a soldering station. I've got all the tools I'll need to solder. I've also got a piece of plywood that I'll work off of to protect my customer's patio. Here I'm reaming the inside of the wall to remove any burrs and sharp edges. My tubing cutter has a built-in reamer in the handle. I'm cleaning the outside of the copper using sandcloth. This removes any dirt, oxidation, or other contaminants, which ensures an effective bond between the solder and the copper. I'll open up the faucet and insert my 1/2-inch wire brush to prep the inside of the inlet. Notice the faucet is open now. More on that in a sec. Now it's time for flux. Notice I'm stirring my flux. This is an important step because flux can separate. Mixing helps evenly redistribute its particles, which results in a stronger, more durable joint. Don't forget to apply flux inside the faucet's inlet as well. By the way, it's crucial to open the faucet's handle before you solder. The heat produced when soldering will damage the faucet's bib washer. The bib washer is the little rubber washer at the end of the stem assembly. That rubber washer is what seals off the water flow when the faucet is closed. Excessive heat during soldering could damage the washer and leak. But opening the valve allows heat to escape so the washer doesn't get damaged. With the valve open, it's time to turn on the torch and start soldering. First, I like to heat up the end of the copper pipe. You'll want to heat everything up evenly. That's why I'm rotating the faucet. That way, the solder gets evenly distributed around the fitting. You'll see the flux boil, and shortly after that, the boiling stops. That's a sign that the joint is probably ready for solder. Just apply the solder along the joint. The heat draws the solder right in. Now I'll let this cool and wipe it off with a towel. After things are cooled down, I'll try to insert the new faucet through the existing hole. However, this isn't going to happen as the new assembly is slightly larger than the old one. So now I'm boring out the hole with a 1.1/8" paddle bit. If you're not sure what size hole to drill, check with the installation instructions on your faucet. Typically, it's either 1 inch or 1.1/8". Now I'll slide the new faucet in place. I'll hold off screwing it until I prepare the joint inside, but I'll go ahead and apply 100% silicone around the inside of the hole to seal up the penetration. So now I'm back inside and need to prep the fitting and the pipe inside. I'll start by reaming the inside of the existing supply line. I'll prep the outside of the pipe too with my sandcloth. And I'll also prep the coupling with my wire brush. Before I solder, I'm gently tugging downwards on the pipe. It's important to ensure that the line is water-free. Otherwise, the pipe won't reach the necessary temperature for effective soldering. Apply the flux on both sides. Insert the 1/2-inch coupling. Now everything's where I want it. I'll run back outside and attach the faucet to the house with 2 exterior deck screws. That locks everything into place. Now before I heat this pipe, I'm attaching a heat pad to the framing. This will help protect the wood from my torch. This pad is nice because it has an adhesive back. It sticks to framing and stays out of my way. Now I'm ready for some heat. I'll heat both sides of the coupling. Can't rotate the pipe like I did outside, so instead I'm moving the flame. Once everything is heated, I'll apply the solder on each joint. I'll let that cool a sec and then wipe it down. Just about done now. I'll close the faucet outside, then turn on the water supply and let that pressurize. I'll double check for any leaks. No leaks here, and finally back outside to open up the valve. Everything looks great. And that's how you replace a frost-proof faucet step by step. I hope you found this guide helpful. If so, be sure to like and subscribe. You'll also find several links under this video. That's where you can get some of Hammerpedia's free cheat sheets, and also watch our other training videos. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.